Quick disclaimer, this video is going to be embarrassing. Hey guys, welcome back to Fiona's Universe, or welcome if you're new. In case you guys are new to my channel, I am Fiona and I am a writer of 10 finished books. I have many whips, about 25 plus, so please stick around to hear about all of those projects on my channel. I already have lots of videos in a playlist where I explain them all. However, today we're talking about my older works from my childhood. Let's jump right into the concept for today's video because it's going to be a great one, and it is reacting to my first books and stories and projects and everything like that. So these projects are going to span from around age 8, 9 to like maybe age 15. And as I mentioned in last week's video, I sadly was unable to find a lot of the projects like my Wildwood sequel that I've mentioned a few times on the channel that I had to write for school, and also just some of my first books that I had typed out in Google Docs in like grade 6. So that's really sad, but I do have a lot of good material for you guys nonetheless. So let's get right into reading some of these projects and reacting to them, and I'll give you some of the backstory as well. I am genuinely devastated about some of the projects that I can't get to, like that Wildwood one. I have one I vividly remember writing about a girl who starts a club to help people find their thing or their passion, and all along that was about me and how I was trying to find my thing. Meanwhile, she's writing a book. Girl, like, get it through your head. Anyway, there's that one. There was one about a girl who makes cotton candy at home and then finds herself in a cotton candy world. I do have, however, the first couple of drafts for Partial Stars, which is one of my completed projects that I did get a publishing deal for, but it fell through. That's a video for another day. Anyway, that one spanned like 3 years of my life, and the first opening ones are interesting. I also, thank God, have recovered my 5-book series I wrote in grade 7 and 8 with 2 of my friends, so that would have been age 12, 13. So that's a great one. We will be doing an entire video on that series because I cannot do that. That's crazy. I also, quickly before we get into reading any of these things, I had written at the beginning of a book called Heart and Star, which like I low-key put a lot of thought into like my whole life. Like it stuck with me, and I don't know why. It was a really stupid concept, but basically these like twin babies are orphaned, unfortunately, and they then are picked up by this like witchy woman, and like she's kind of evil, and she like brands them with a heart and a star, and like that's their names, which is like low-key my favorite part of the series, but I don't remember what it was about. There was some time travel stuff going on. I don't know. It's chaotic, but not as chaotic as what we're about to move into. So while I was at home for reading week, I decided it would be fun to go through some of my old notebooks and feel like I was myself again, my childhood. And I was reading them, and I discovered a lot of old stories, but this one right here carries the most old stories. You can see it says Fiona Lily Holland, my name. Wow, this book. Anyway, this journal belongs to Fiona Lily Holland, if you didn't get it from the cover page. That is who this belongs to. Anyway, there's a lot of nonsense in here where I was using my new pens, and then I have some like brainstormy stuff. I don't have a recollection of like what these stories were actually supposed to be about. I wish I could find the other one I had written because I liked it a lot more. But anyway, we're gonna be reading some of these. It's very messy, so I'm gonna have to like flip through different sections of the notebook, and like I guess this is the brainstorm page, so we'll start with this. Whoa, I believe there's 2 stories that we're gonna focus on in the notebook, and then we'll move on to the ones I have on my computer. So these ones are probably from when I was like around age 8, 9, 10. Okay, so we have Wander. It's the first one. I think the other one is something like Darkness. I don't know, but that was one of my ideas in this brainstorm cloud thing. Underwater Fairy Barlow. Not quite sure what Barlow means. Blackness Scary. Well, we have something in common with the scary. Old Castle. Okay. Interesting start. Now we move on to Wander, chapter 1. I believe this is the worst of the two stories. Don't get me wrong, they're both awful. But I should be kinder to my younger self, but I'm not going to be. Anyway, but it's still pretty bad. I also have some like weird prose in here. I don't think I even knew what prose were. I just was writing random crap. Anyway, let's start with Wander, chapter 1, Lost and Found. The first part of Wander is here, and then the next part is like here. So I'm just gonna hold that so I don't lose it, but I don't know why I did that. What? Okay, not a lot of this is gonna make sense, so let's get into it. It was a stormy night in the town of Declar. I really like that word, you're about to find out. No moonlight could be seen. In a small house on the corner of Sunset Street, in a pink bed, lied me. Ooh, some really great grammar already. Anyway, we know that starting a story with "it was a stormy night in this place" is a really awful start, so clearly hadn't figured that out yet, but I'm glad I have now. I tossed and turned, but couldn't get comfortable. I listened to the rolling thunder and the pounding rain on the roof. So atmospheric. Every few seconds, a flash of lightning jolted me into a sitting position. Wow, that's an interesting spelling of position. Position. But I did know how to spell lightning back then, and now I can't seem to ever get it right, so good job, Fiona. And then I heard it. Tap, tap, tap. I thought my mind was playing tricks on me, so I ignored it. But a few seconds later, I heard it again. Okay? Except louder this time. Tap, tap, tap. I was a bit scared now, but it didn't bother me. ... Until tap, tap, tap. Something was ramming on my window. I peeked out of my covers and saw not something scary, but something strange. My old ballet flats banging at my window. Floating in midair. Girl, I rubbed my eyes and looked again. The shoes were still there. I walked over and opened my window. I reached out and grabbed the flats. They fought in my hand, wanting to go back outside. They were leading me outside. Not thinking, I allowed them to fly me out to my backyard. Girls levitating. They then floated over to the shed where we kept our bikes. The shoes went into the shed and came back out carrying something. My lost scooter. This was getting a little too weird, and I wanted to go back inside. Please do, girl, and then finish the story. About 100 pages later, we have the next part of chapter 1. But the shoes wouldn't let me. They set off to find something else I had lost and came back with an old class photo I guess I had dropped. Then the weirdest thing of all happened. My shoes started to transform into a person. Not a person, but a fairy. Hello, I am sorry if I scared you, she said. That's okay, I said. Real. I am a lost and found group member. We find things people have lost. We feel you are all ready to become a member. You will find something no one else has ever found. You'll know them when you see them. There are 7 items to find. You take your sister with you. We will talk to your parents. Here's a phone to talk to us with. That's the end of the story. A few things I noticed when I first read this a few days ago, because I really couldn't help myself, guys. I noticed that the sister needed to be in it, which is funny because that's also a common theme in the next story, and it's because I'm a twin and I've always obviously been with her, and so I couldn't like just go on this adventure in myself because clearly this was a self-insert moment. So yeah, that was funny. And then also that the parents needed to be alerted of what was going on with the Lost and Found Club or whatever. Of course, gotta get all those ducks in a line. Is that how they say it? I don't know. Okay, this next one is called Darkness. I don't know if it's like the title of the book or the title. Oh no, the chapter has its own title. So I think this was like a refined, so I thought, version of the Wander book. Also, why is it called Wander? I think I just liked that word. Anyway, we're gonna hear some familiar things here. Okay, moving on, let's read it. This one had me laughing so hard. Like, I was cackling at this for hours because of one of the aspects. So let's just get right into it. It was a starry, clear night in Faylene. We're starting off with weather and the place. Like, not good. The stars and moon allowing anyone to see far in front of themselves. Unlike the last story, which had no moonlight to be seen, this one is lots of stars and moon. The Dexon's house pond shone brightly. Josephine, which is spelled in the most interesting way I could imagine, a young girl, I don't know how to spell young apparently, was in her pink bunk bed, dreaming away. Oh, we're exploring third person, I see. She woke suddenly. A sparkling sound slipped through her open window. It was a brilliant sound, like birds singing and flowing water. Imagery. Josephine peered through the window. She was amazed at what a beautiful night it was, and this wasn't all she was amazed by, because next she noticed the shining pond. Each day, Josephine went down to the pond and wrote a new one of her dreams, hoping one day they would come true. That part is actually really cute, because that's definitely something I would do. She had never seen the pond shine. She had to get a closer look. Josephine pulled on her white robe over her unicorn nightgown and slowly, quietly crept down the stairs. Shay's laughing at me in the living room. If you guys know anything about me, which you don't, I don't think I've ever said this, I was such a unicorn kid and I liked them way before they were cool and like everywhere. But like I would go to Justice and hunt down the unicorn stuff, spend all my hard-earned Christmas money on it. Anyway, the unicorn nightgown just proves how young I was when I wrote this, okay? Anyway, moving forward, it gets better. Unicorn nightgown, blah, 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 blah. She opened the back door and walked through it. It's a great description. To her astonishment, I don't actually know how to spell astonishment, but I don't think it's like that. The pond was now sparkling. As she walked closer, she saw a figure coming up out of the water. We're about to figure out my favorite character in this story. Josephine was a bit frightened by this, but kept walking. A sharp object peeked out of the water's surface. It was gold and shining like the water. Next, a large head appeared. Josephine knew this head very well. This was the head of a unicorn. Again. Just love the unicorns. She then pinched herself hard to make sure she wasn't dreaming. Nothing. She widened her eyes. Nothing. The head turned into a big white unicorn body and next legs. The unicorn had a silver mane and tail, which flowed in the night breeze. It slowly walked towards her, and at this, Josephine was bubbling with excitement. "Hello," said a gentle voice, which made Josephine jump because of the silence before. Oh, at least she's actually responding this time to the fairy who's arriving. Oh, never mind. This is still the unicorn who can speak, apparently? Okay. Never mind. The fairy's still coming. Where is the fairy? What the heck? Maybe the fairy's not in this one, guys. I'm really disappointed now. Moving on. "Where did you come from?" asked Josephine. "I was born in your pond tonight. I sensed a young girl close by. The one I needed to be my master." "Right then," answered the unicorn. "My name is Josephine Dexon, but you can call me Fee." If you guys don't know, Fee is one of my nicknames. Josephine, Fiona, yeah. Clear another self-insert there. "You, Fee, are the girl who possesses everything a unicorn needs," said the unicorn. "Love, kindness, and you believe in your dreams." That's kind of cute. Anyway, I skipped a little bit of that because it was boring. "Wow," said Fee. "I didn't know a unicorn could come from my backyard." End of story. Oh, I found the funny one, guys. This was the one with the fairy in it. They all are like reiterations of the same thing that I was just like playing around with, I guess. This one is just doesn't have a title. Chapter 1, When I Was Normal. This is hilarious. So I was trying to like write myself inserting. So it says, "Hello, my name is Fiona." Another awful way to start a book. But now it says, scribbled out, "Alex." So, "Hello, my name is Alex. This is the story of my journey to save the world." Sounds corny, doesn't it? Wow, I hate this already. Ha. Well, it's just the truth. I did save the world. When I was normal, I had friends who weren't always friendly, and I went to school and didn't learn. Wow, wish I could unread this. My home life was, and still is, great. Can't relate. No, I'm just kidding. I have a sister, twin sister, named Shay, scribbled out my owl. You're gonna hear these names again, okay? The names Alex, Mayo, Sky, Quinn. Okay, just prepare yourself. Don't get me wrong, I have friends. They are good friends too. Back to how I saved the world. I should probably tell you, Mayo saved it with me. I like taking credit for things. There were 10 challenges to stop Ellie, Elemental, an evil sorceress. Wow, butchered that spelling. Okay, I think these are the challenges. The 10 challenges. The challenger of 10, actually. Water, earth, light, unknown, fire, plant, air, cold, dark, lightning. See, this is Alex Astor right here. She took this from my 8-year-old notebook. Alex, what were we doing? If you've read Lightlark, some of these elemental things are quite familiar. And also the challenges, like I was talking about in my author pet peeves video. If 8-year-old me could come up with it, you don't want it in your novels. I promise. Anyway, moving forward. This is where I'm gonna start to giggle, so please forgive me. I'm gonna try and keep it together. The fairy Blue came to me and well, she told us we were chosen to complete these 10 challenges. Too much for you? Let's go back to the beginning. So what made me laugh so hard was the fairy Blue, because why is it called that? Why not the blue fairy? Why is it the fairy Blue? Anyway, that's just like mine and Shay's humor, so it works. Anyway, chapter 2, a wild ride. There is no wild ride to be seen on this page. Anyway, how do we get there? I asked the fairy Blue, who had now explained about Ellie's plan of evil. Is this a fantasy world? Like, we don't even... What? Ellie's plan of evil and her 10 challenges we would complete. Magic, the fairy Blue answered. What kind of magic? My owl asked. Transportation magic. Pack your bags, girls, the fairy Blue said. Wait, what about our parents? Oh, we gotta make sure the parents know what's up. Of course. It's because I have this stress in my soul of being that age and my parents not knowing where I was. It was a big deal. Anyway, I asked. Yes, we have it all under control, said the fairy Blue. I darted out of my owl's room to get packed. I was excited. I mean, really excited. All right, that's the end. That's the end of that one. All right, we're gonna read this final one because it's kind of like dumb, but like I can make sense of it, if that makes sense. So it's very, very short. Let's read it and then I'll get on to the ones on the computer. This one's called Your World. I could redo this concept. This concept's good. Anyway, have you ever wished there was a place you could go when you need time to yourself? A place only you knew about? Everyone at some point wishes there was a place like this. I did, until I found it. It really is your world, only yours. Wow, very redundant. Okay, chapter 1, me. All you need to know. I always thought there needed to be like a about me at the beginning of a book. Because, you know, when you're a little kid, when you're writing, or like when you're a very new writer, think you gotta hit all those marks right away. You don't. You actually don't need to dump all the characters' backstory and name and favorite color and siblings and all that. Anyway, here we go. Well, let's start with my name. Perfect. I am Fiona Lily Holland, and I'm a preteen in brackets, girl. I always wanted a world of only to me to go to when I am upset or bored. Bored is not spelled right. I didn't just want it, I needed it. Okay. Sometimes I get too mad for my own good. So real. I was a very happy kid. That's the end of the chapter. So the reason I like this one is only because it's like, it does resonate with me because I always wanted to escape when I was a little kid. I wanted my own world, especially because I was a twin. Everything was very much grouped together and I was just very much living in a small little town, a small little community, and I wanted obviously to use my imagination and sort of have a bigger life. I always dreamed about being right where I am now with my own apartment and in university and doing YouTube, which is so ironic because now I tend to like be upset sometimes with my life and how I'm doing in it. But to think back to like that little girl who's writing, and now I have 10 books written, she would just be flabbergasted, honestly, with what I'm doing now. So that one's kind of cute. Really bad, but kind of cute. Moving on. Timeline wise, Trapped in Freedom comes before all of this. Trapped in Freedom I could also do a whole video on. I could probably do it with my sister, but I don't think she would want to be in the video. Anyway, I wrote that with Shay during COVID times, so we were 14. It was 2020, 2019, 2020, yeah, 2020. And we wrote this book called Trapped in Freedom. It was like a fantasy type world, dystopian, where these characters had to sort of escape their like mundane, awful society through this like wall, but they don't know that beyond the wall isn't actually like the free city that's like rumored in their city. It's like this weird in-between zone with like a lot of like weird simulations going on. So they escape through like a supply truck. They get trapped in freedom because it's like the irony of it. I was really proud of myself for coming up with that title. But yeah, me and Shay wrote the whole book, and we submitted it to a lot of competitions and stuff, or just one I guess, but there was a lot of rounds. And the person running it read the whole book, and she's on YouTube, and she really inspired me and started my love of authortube. So thank you to Mel, I believe is her name. Yeah. Anyway, my watch just fell off. We're gonna put that away. So that was when I was 14. When I was 12 and 13, we had Wake Me When It's Over. I don't want to get too much into that one, so that's why I kind of skipped over it, because I want to do a whole video on it. But essentially, I was in my dad's class. He's a teacher in grade 7 and 8, and we had this big chunk of like literacy time during the day, which is like English class, I suppose. But we had like stations where we could choose like reading, writing. There was a lot of other ones, and we always found a way to work in writing these books. And so we flew through them. Like, they're middle grade, they're short. We tried to publish them traditionally. So like, I have started my querying journey back when I was 12, which is insane. Anyway, to give you the gist before we do a whole video on this eventually, it's quite long. It was my absolute like introduction to this is what I want to do, even though that was technically in grade 6 with the Wildwood book. But this one, like, I was flying through this. This was all I wanted to do. This was all I wanted to do. And it's not good, but it essentially is these 3 characters who are us, and they're triplets, and they have this evil dance teacher guy who is also their uncle, but they don't know that, kills their parents, and they end up having to live with him, kind of like a Count Olaf sitch. But I don't think they live with him for very long before they go to their next house. He kind of finds them wherever they go, and they're very funny girls. Like, they're weird, funny. They all have their little quirks, kind of like we did. My character was really boring, Alex, but the other ones were fun. Anyway, there's like one book where they're at like a psychiatric institution. There's one book where they're at a boarding school. There's one book where they're at, what's the second book? They live with like the dance teacher, I think, the good one. And then this book, they're at an orphanage, I believe, with these 2 other girls. Anyway, that's like a rundown of this one. It was my super big fixation in grade 7 and 8, and like I had it in my Instagram bio. Like, this was like the thing. And like the whole collection's called Wake Me When It's Over, but all the books have their own titles. I believe there's In the Night, Into the Shadows, In the Silent? I don't know, I'm not even gonna try. Anyway, I know that they're in here somewhere, but I don't feel like going and finding the start of every book because I have them all compiled into one document. Anyway, let's get into Partial Stars stuff now, because oh, this is Elise's book. Sorry, I opened up one because it said like story for real or whatever. It was my friend's. Anyway, I have, oh, here's all the titles. Into the Night, Is This Just a Dream? Into the Shadows, Living Nightmares. And then there was another one, but I don't know if we ever titled it. Okay, so Partial Stars, I got the idea for in 2019. Mostly just the setting. And if you've watched my explaining all my books video, you probably have heard a little bit about Partial Stars. and I have a couple of videos on here talking about it as well, like older videos, but I was really infatuated with it. It is this girl who finds herself stranded in the forest. Like, that's how the book opens, and then it leads up to her meeting one of the members of her search party. It's her boyfriend. He claims to be her boyfriend. She doesn't remember him. They kind of rekindle their relationship a little bit, and eventually she remembers. That's part 2, is all her memories leading up to that point. And then part 3 is the consequences of everything that happened leading up to her in the forest and them getting out, and the consequences. Anyway, that is the partial stars. However, the first draft of it is called Through Their Eyes, and it was going to be fantasy, magical, and about her brother, not her boyfriend. Not in that way. Not in that way. Like, no romance is what I'm trying to say. But yeah, I was originally going to start every chapter and shape every chapter around a word that I found on Pinterest. I had a whole board full of these unique words, which I now always see millennials get tattooed on themselves, which makes me laugh. I don't even know how to pronounce the first one, but there is a prologue. This is completely like in a separate document from Partial Stars, but the setting is the same. So they're in the forest, but they live there. So the mother leaves them in the forest, and then it's just the brother and her, and then eventually it's just her. Partial Stars does not have fantasy elements in it. This does, and she essentially has this like journal, from what I remember, with these words in it from her mom, and she eventually like decodes them to find out where her mom is, which is kind of cool actually. But I never like finished any of this, so I'm just gonna read some of this to you. I guess this is the last thing I have to read. I'm not gonna read Wake Me When It's Over because we'll do that in another video. Prologue of Through Their Eyes. I can't remember why it was called this. Oh, I think the girl has the ability to like have like visions of through her brother's eyes, so she can kind of figure out in the forest where he is, but the forest all kind of looks the same. Anyway, it's kind of stupid and messy, but who cares? I was probably like 13. Okay. Prologue. When I awoke, mother was gone. See, that's a better starting. She had always kept secrets, something we all knew to be a fact. It never bothered me. She was a complex woman, a person of great mystery. Mother was intelligent, but she often let her ambition get the better of her. Still, I couldn't fathom what could have led her to leave. Perhaps she felt like we were keeping her from truly living. But why would she share her teachings with us, only to throw it all to the wind one day? She knew we would find her, if she allowed us to, but clearly that wasn't her intention. We could no longer enter her thoughts. Oh, they can't get into her thoughts anymore. What the heck is this, like, opening? Anyway, it's better than the other ones, obviously, but it's still awful. I don't know how to say this word, but it's the word at the beginning of the prologue. Absquatulate. That can't be right, but I'll type it out for you guys. I read, my older brother Jackson peered worriedly over my shoulder. Oh my god, it's spelled Jaxon, which I used that name in A Girl Called Love, which is insane. Okay, crazy full circle moment. No, it's not. I had flipped open the glossary to the final page. She had given it to us many years ago, and I memorized it after only a few days. I paused, swallowing the lump in my throat, to leave without saying goodbye. Oh, that's kind of funny. I felt a silent tear slide down my freckled cheek. It seemed like a waste. She had raised us to respect our power, to control our special abilities. She had taught us to speak to the creatures of the forest and to others who were like us. She enforced the power of words upon us. She was constantly reminding us of the importance of family. But what was all of this for? Was this her plan all along? To leave us alone in the woods with nothing but our lessons to guide our lives? Lena, my brother uttered. Lena? Who the fuck is Lena? Her name is Vera. No, in Partial Stars, her name is Vera, whatever. My brother uttered disbelief and realization on his face. As I stared silently into his golden eyes, I could see my face in his mind. I looked awful. Not that it mattered. Oh, here comes the physical description. Another awful trait of a new writer. I wasn't even a new writer at this point. I was just a young one. Anyway, my golden eyes were red and puffy. The outlines of tears streaked my skin. Was this what it looked like to cry? I rarely ever cried, and most definitely didn't when other people were near. I exited his thoughts and collapsed into his arms, the old tattered book slipping from my grasp. We sat there on the forest floor for hours, sobbing into each other uncontrollably. Wow. It had only just begun to sink in. Mother had left us, and she clearly didn't want to be followed. We strained to hear her thoughts, focusing with every ounce of our power. Nothing. She had left us there to die. Wow, the dramatics. It took us a few days to come to our senses. We had to continue on without Mother. Where are they going? Where are they going? We had committed 2 lives of adventure where we found a home in the trees and the sky. The forest was our true home. Okay, you just said that. We had to keep moving forward, keep searching for others like us. They were out there, probably doing the same, looking for Jax and me and finding nothing. Mind readers, the freaks of the forest. That's what the locals called us. Really? Really? Despite this, they assumed that our existence was simply a legend. After all, we were only humans with complex talent. At first glance, we were normal. After packing our few belongings, Jax and I set out. My bad. We had suffered many sleepless nights, hopeful that Mother would appear through the trees while we slept. But by the time we chose to move on, that hope was as long gone as Mother. Wow. Okay. Although I could hardly function without her, I knew it was my job as her daughter to carry her words to the next generation. Jax and I had only had each other left, as our father had died when we were young. I found myself longing for her guidance, although I hardly ever listened to her. I had always been a nonconformist, wow, that's a big word, who found instructions from others to be of no worth. Still, I felt lost without her constant warnings and lectures. The next few weeks, Jax and I wandered aimlessly through the forest. This one could have been called Wander, I guess. We hardly ever spoke out loud and chose rather to converse in our minds. The grief of my mother's disappearance was still so fresh in my young mind, I couldn't possibly imagine what would happen so soon after she'd left. Oh gosh. Only 3 weeks after Mother's leaving, Jax was gone too, but unlike Mother, I could still hear him. One more chapter, and then we're gonna debrief. Hey guys, this is Fiona editing this. I just wanted to say I cut out the part where I read the next chapter because honestly, it was pretty boring, but I wanted to say there was a couple interesting things within it that I wanted to mention, and it's that they have like that book, The Gray Glossary, and I thought it was funny because I used the last name Gray for Saturn Gray and Saturn Sun. You might or might not know about my book called Saturn Sun, and then also it's like a color last name, just like Vera Green, which I think is so funny. And also in that little clip I had described how her physical appearance is a lot like Vera's as well. So anyway, thought that was pretty interesting to note. But the second chapter is very short and nothing really happens. I don't know where that concept was going, but it is no longer in existence for me. So yeah, hope you enjoyed. And that's the end of Through Their Eyes, which was a rendition of Partial Stars. Wow, I really wish I had the other projects to read to you guys, but for now that is all for this video, and I would love to hear your thoughts on another video like this where perhaps we read my old fan fiction. I've really always wanted to that video, and I can't wait to film it regardless of if you guys want it or not. But like, I would rather if you wanted it. Anyway, that one will be honestly probably more hilarious than this because this is all just young, youthful mind writing where it doesn't have a structure, it doesn't have a plot. I had no idea where any of these things were going. I had no idea who these characters were. I was just writing and honestly loving it, but the actual writing itself is clearly not very good, and the like, I don't know, the formatting is even worse. Now I think all of that was important learning for me, and I'm so grateful that I started at such a young age because I kind of always did this. Like, there was never a time in my life where I wasn't making stories. But again, if you've watched my authortube newbie take, it was a story. A lot of it was a story about how I got into writing, so there's a whole story on that if you are interested at all. But yeah, it's funny. But for now, let's move on from that atrocious writing and just be grateful for it because it shaped me into the writer I am now over many years and nearly 2 decades. So that's insane. But I'm proud to say that I am a much better writer now, obviously, than I was when I was 8, 9, 10 years old. But yeah, that was fun. Here I am all those years later. So many books under my belt. So many mistakes along the way. Still none of them published, but I don't care. And in a creative writing degree in university, so I think I should be proud of myself. And I hope you guys enjoyed this silly little video. I've been wanting to film this forever, guys. Anyway, I will see you again next week, and thank you so much for being here, and I love you so much, and this is my dream come true, and I'm gonna say all this stuff in every single video because it's just the truth. But anyway, I adore you, I love you, and I can't wait to see you again soon. Bye bye.